So now we've looked at the introduction to the executive, what I want to do in this video is go in and have a look at the powers of the Prime Minister specifically. Okay, so the Prime Minister has more powers than other cabinet ministers. Okay, the resources available to the Prime Minister are subject to important constraints and also vary according to different circumstances. But with that being said, the main powers of the Prime Minister are the power of patronage, authority within the cabinet system, party leadership, public standing, and policy-making role. Okay, he's also got power over the Prime Minister's office. We're going to look at each of these individually, and we're going to start with patronage. So the Prime Minister has important powers of patronage. Okay, the power of an individual to appoint someone to an important position. Okay, so the most significant power is the power to appoint government ministers. Other patronage powers have curtailed in recent years. So originally there were the Prime Minister had the patronage power of appointing judicial and ecclesiastical appointments. So the Prime Minister's role in appointing judges and senior members of the Church of England was reduced by the government under Gordon Brown. Okay, and there's also the honours system, and the Prime Minister's role in the honours system has also been reduced as well. When it comes to appointing cabinet ministers, the Prime Minister's power to appoint and dismiss government ministers is the most crucial advantage over his colleagues. So the Conservative Party gives its leader a free hand in appointing cabinet ministers, which means in theory the Prime Minister can create a cabinet in their own image, rewarding supporters and penalising disloyal MPs. The 2010 coalition agreement, though, required David Cameron to appoint 5 Liberal Democrats to his cabinet. This included the leader of the Liberal Democrats and the Deputy Prime Minister, Nick Clegg. So when there's a coalition, there is a sort of limit to the powers of appointing cabinet ministers. And really there's a limit to the Prime Minister's powers in general. Okay, cabinet reshuffles are really important as well for the power of the Prime Minister. The Prime Minister can also reshuffle portfolios. Okay, so some ministers might have been moved to other posts or just dismissed entirely. This allows the Prime Minister to promote successful ministers and also demote those who have underachieved in the department that they are running. And the Prime Minister decides the timing of the reshuffle and this is another limitation of the Prime Minister's power, so generally they are in control of when a reshuffle happens. However, a mass resignation of a cabinet could cause a huge reshuffle to have to take place, or even a sudden resignation of a single cabinet minister. Okay, apart from being in charge of appointing and reshuffling the cabinet, he's also got authority in the cabinet system. Okay, so with the post of the Prime Minister comes the specific authority within the core executive. So the Prime Minister chairs cabinet meetings, manages the agenda of cabinet meetings, directs and sums up cabinet decisions, creates cabinet committees and appoints their members, holds bilateral meetings, appoints senior civil servants, organising the structure of government. So overall, we see a large number of roles within the core executive. The Prime Minister is effectively what's known as first among equals. Okay, so within the cabinet, he is an equal member, but he is first among equals. So he's still in charge of everything within the core executive. Number 5, agenda setting. So the Prime Minister can determine the agenda of cabinet meetings by controlling the information presented to ministers, by determining which issues and papers should be brought before the cabinet, and keeping potentially difficult issues off the cabinet agenda. And then finally, deciding the chair, membership and remit of cabinet committees, where such detailed policy work occurs. Okay, so he can set the agenda of cabinet meetings and really just sort of steer the direction of the government. He's also by convention and by law, the leader of a political party. He's by law leader of a political party, and by convention leader of the largest political party. So the Prime Minister is the leader of the largest party in the House of Commons. A working majority in Parliament strengthens the position of the Prime Minister, as it means that he or she is more likely to enjoy the confidence of the Commons and be able to enact the legislation. Okay? So party leadership strengthens the authority of the Prime Minister. Labour and Conservative leaders are elected by their MPs and party members. So it legitimises their position. The biggest majority that we've seen in a long time is that of Tony Blair, who enjoyed authority within his party in his first years in office because of 2 landslide election victories. He reformed Labour's organisation and enhanced his position as a leader, and also reformed the country effectively. The Prime Minister also has public standing, so he is the main spokesperson for the nation, and in many contexts, such as international meetings, he acts on behalf as the head of state. Okay, so as such, he has unique access to media. So the Prime Minister's press office holds a key position within the executive. There is a danger that, in terms of public perception of the Prime Minister, is perceived as a head of state, thereby ellipsing the monarchy. So he only acts on behalf of the head of state. He is not the head of state of the United Kingdom. Okay, so overall, we've looked at the official powers of the Prime Minister all the way down to the powers of public standing. And the powers of public standing are also very important for that they show the Prime Minister in a good light or a bad light. And if they show him in a bad light, then at the next election, you might see a downfall of that particular leader. So in the next video, we're going to have a look at theories of executive power, which is a very interesting and important way of understanding how recent Prime Ministers have run their governments.